everyone. Welcome to another episode of A Feminine Moment. I'm Cherry Lynn, and I'm so excited to be here today with Dixie and Lynn Forsyth and her husband, Dr. Robert Forsyth. Hi.
Hi. It takes a little finagling to get his schedule so that we
I know.
Hey, it's Saturday.
Yes, we never do this on Saturdays. We usually do it on Thursdays.
Right.
We hear a lot of women say, why should I be the one to change in my relationship? Why do women have to do all the work? Does Fascinating Womanhood say that women are the ones that have to do everything? I think this is such a great question. It's something, like I said, we hear so much about. So what do you all have to say about that?
A guy's point of view, I have to admit, I think as a guy, I don't think about relationships as much as I know, Dixie does. She as quickly, and she's more thinking about different parts of the relationship and what different things mean, and she's more sensitive, and she's actually more nurturing, and I have to say she's really more loving. She's been teaching me about how to be more loving, and so, I don't think it's that women have to do anything. I guess it just depends on what they want. Do they want to improve the relationship? And if they wait for the guy to figure it out, he may not necessarily get it. I know I always relate things to the sort of brain function. I mean, I think men are wired more front to back. Which makes them more visual and action-oriented. Women are more side-to-side. In fact, use both hemispheres and communicate both sides all the time, which makes them more aware of more probably nuance and relationship and details. And guys are more target-oriented, so I'm just not aware of it. And it's not that I don't want to be. I'm trying to learn that. But you have core strengths. You have some core strengths in this area, and like I say, a woman doesn't have to do it all. It just depends on what she wants. If she wants to win and always be right, and maybe be in charge or control or whatever, okay, then maybe that's what she'll get. But I believe that what we're trying to say is more about developing relationships. Not conflict, more working together and getting along together. And I got to say, you've taught me a lot about that. I appreciate it.
Well, I spoke to a friend the other day that is in the middle of a difficult relationship. And one thing that she said to me, that something you said reminded me of this. She said, I told him, her husband, about a year or so ago, I said, I'm unhappy. I'm really unhappy and things need to change. And she said, but nothing has changed. So what do you think from a male perspective, what do you think happened there with that man? I mean, I know you don't know him, but I think that sounds like a very classic example of what we're talking about.
But it sounds like she didn't tell him what needs to, would have no idea what he needed to turn.
He needs a target. That's so vague for a man. That's like saying, I really like something, and he doesn't realize that that's a hint. He doesn't know what that means. He doesn't even know what that means really, for the most part. So, I think what it comes down to is core strengths. We have different core strengths, and if we play to those, she's wanting him to be maybe more like her and realize what this means, and that he needs to do more, but he needs a target. He needs a specific, he needs some specific ideas here, and he may very well be willing to do it. I know sometimes, I know with Dixie, she's taught me things like sometimes a person will text me and I'll not text anything back. And she says, well, why don't you answer them? I said, well, they didn't ask me a question, or they didn't give me any target I didn't need to do anything. And she said, well, you need to let them know that you got the text and that you need to respond.
Well, what that specific one was is one of our daughters, so it related to me, who sent him a picture of her baby.
Mhm.
And she's wanting feedback. She's wanting to not only know that he got it, but that he liked it. Because if he doesn't respond, she doesn't even have any idea whether he saw it or not.
Right.
So what I said is just, you can do an emoji. I said, do you realize that if
Emoji.
you don't do that, she won't even know you got it. And he hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, I just hadn't thought of it. It just didn't enter my mind. I thought, oh, that's a cute picture. I really like that. I'm glad she sent it. But I didn't think to say, I didn't think to just send an emoji, thumbs up or whatever. Now I'm starting to try to do that because I can tell it's better communication, it's better relationship skills, that Dixie actually has an advantage there. Not that I have some relationship skills, but I approach relationships very differently. To me, relationships are more, I don't know how to say this, maybe more of a specific task that I need to do to improve things, probably thinking of it almost from a business point of view. And whereas for Dixie, it is related. The whole thing is relationship.
Everything to me. I mean, if any of you've seen some of these movies where they'll say, this isn't personal, this is business, it always bewilders me because I think most women think everything is personal if it touches you personally. Like, don't take this personally. This is just business. It's personal to you. And so relationships are the most personal things that we have and my answer to that question along with Bob's, why should we do it all? Well, first of all, we don't do it all, but why should we take the lead in this? Because we're more sensitive, because we sense a relationship that is, if our relationship's a little bit rocky, it's more uncomfortable for us than it is usually for the men. They can tolerate it longer because they have a better ability to kind of compartmentalize and kind of shut the door on some of these, like I'll think about that later. Whereas for more women, everything is connected to everything else. And we're the ones who buy the self-help books. Now, some men do, but not anywhere near in the great majority.
Right.
And men, and besides, you cannot change another person. Anytime you've tried, how many of you have actually been successful? So when you say, why should I? Well, you have no other option but to change yourself if you don't like the relationship, because you can't. A lot of these marriage seminars and advice, they want the couple to sit down together and agree to some kind of 50-50. You do this, I do this. And then when he doesn't do his part, there's a conflict, arguments.
Isn't that how therapy is as well? Is therapy like that?
Yeah, well, yes. I know when I have done marriage therapy, I realize some real differences between men and women, how they approach things. So in a way, I speak both languages. I've learned, I know how the man's thinking and approaching this, but I also know how the woman is. And so sometimes what I have done is tried to help each of the partners understand how the other approaches this. And that sometimes really turns on some light bulbs. Like, oh, gee, I thought from a woman's point of view, I thought he kind of thought like I did, or that he would approach things like I do. And why doesn't he? Why does he come at something a little bit differently, or sometimes quite a bit differently? I mean, there was that book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. It's like men have a different approach to things. Like, I know the big 5 personality characteristics that we sometimes talk about, they're well researched. Women are more agreeable and more relationship oriented, just basic temperament. And again, this isn't every woman and it isn't every man, but women tend to be more agreeable and more interested in relationships. And men tend to be more aggressive, maybe even assertive, and
Task-oriented.
task oriented. And so, and that's good. I see the differences as a positive. I don't see that as a negative, because there's that old saying that if everyone is the same, then somebody's unnecessary. We have different core skills that we bring together, and we've learned how to work together with them. And that's, I think, why we have something, I think, special in our relationship. We kind of understand each other, and she allows for my stuff, and she makes me want to be a better man. And I think she said that in some ways I do the same, because I validate her and I appreciate what she's doing, and it inspires her too.
Well, and I've got to add here too that when you say, women say, why should I do all this? What they're actually saying is, why should I practice all these core strengths that I have? Why doesn't he have them?
Yes.
As well. And this book, Fascinating Womanhood for the Timeless Woman, and my mother's book, Fascinating Womanhood, are geared for women's core strengths.
Right.
Like, here's your strengths, ladies, if you choose to develop these and practice these principles. It's like secrets of how you can understand men and get along better. And it's like they're saying, well, wait a minute, you're talking about women's core strengths. We're not really focusing on men's core strengths. And so they think, unfortunately, that nothing is expected of men. That's not true. It's just that this program for women focuses on our strengths. And that's why it seems like we're doing it. We're doing everything we can do that's within our core strength ability.
Yes.
You want the relationship to be better. It's not about who's smarter or who's right or who's tougher or that doesn't matter. It's developing relationships. And to me, a meaningful and lasting relationship with someone, where I know in the book you talk about different levels of relationship, and you've got all these levels connected. That's something special. That's beyond just hooking up with somebody. This is a long-term, intimate, really, well, like you say, love affair.
Well, look at the goal. The goal here, ladies, and for all of us, is we all want this deeply romantic relationship. The one that you got just the taste of when you first got engaged and got married, the what they call the honeymoon phase. People think that's a phase only because they don't understand the principles that keep it not only lasting but make it deeper, so that the real love and romance that you actually get is after it's better developed. And some people never experience that. What we're trying to teach women, because that's what we're talking to as women, is what they can do, because you can't change him, what you can do to actually make this a reality. What are you getting? A woman who understands these principles knows exactly what she's doing. She's not just submitting to something. She knows what she's doing. And the husband, she knows that the husband wants the same thing she does. He wants to be close to her. It's not like he doesn't. He married her for Pete's sake. So they both want the same thing. It's just that she understands when the rockiness comes, that can lead to something worse if she doesn't handle this.
I just noticed a comment on social media this morning about a woman who said she'd been reading Fascinating Womanhood for the Timeless Woman, and she was reading about girlishness. And she said her husband, she realized her husband often did a version of boyishness. Kind of like, well, like one woman said that she had been working out in the yard all day. She hadn't bathed. No makeup. She just really been working. And when her husband came home, he came in and she came in, and he kind of went, would someone like to take a shower? He did a kind of a boyish thing. It was kind of cute.
She told me about it because it was cute.
She got the message. Now, this other woman said she just discovered how powerful girlishness is. And she said, my husband does this as a boyish thing, but I didn't realize, I never thought, hey, I could do this. So she said she did something like that with him in a sort of a difficult situation. And she said it was like amazing. And then she did it with her 15-year-old son. And she said, he normally is this kind of sullen teenager, but she did something kind of cute with him. He goes, okay, Mom, I'll do it. You know. You know, he kind of got a little boyish with her too. I don't know, it sort of takes some of the tension out of situations. So how you deal with a potential, sometimes it's a small thing, but sometimes the way you deal with it, it either can become a huge problem that tears down the relationship, or it can become actually a strengthening, almost a path to more intimacy. That if men knew it was in this book, they'd be handing it out on every street corner. They'd be throwing them out of airplanes. You know, they'd be airdropping them everywhere.
But it isn't because they don't have to do anything. What I hope to get across to more and more women is we're giving you tools that you can actually use. You don't have to use them. When I say, why do we have to? You don't have to. We're offering you tools that are, most of them, simple things. It's kind of a change in the way you look at something and the way you react to something that can actually make your marriage more romantic. And so it's something you can do. You don't have to sit around and wait for him to do something that he may never get.
I love what you say about strength, playing to strengths. I think that's the biggest takeaway that I have from all of this is the reason why women do this and the reason why men do this is because this is their strengths. These are your strengths. And I think just having that knowledge is really important because it inspires, for me, it makes me feel like, oh, I feel inspired to take this on now.
One of the things that you need to realize too is that because of the women have had something that the men haven't been as bashed over the head with, and that's the feminist movement that has gone too far. And they have basically been saying everything needs to be 50-50 and all this, and women don't even know their core strengths anymore. Yeah. Men are more conscious of their core strengths of masculinity and being assertive and those things. They're more aware of that because they haven't been marginalized for so long. Mm-hmm. We have to get back to what our actual core strengths are. We have to reteach it because we live in a world where, and we're talking about all over the world, that where women, a lot of them think that femininity is weakness. And that's one of our core strengths. So it has been attacked for so long. And it hasn't really been 100 years. I've realized it's been hundreds of years. It's in different cultures because cultures don't stay the same. And there's this attitude that some women have that, my gosh, I'm being oppressed, so I have to be more like a man. That isn't going to get them what they want. It isn't going to do it. If it would work, we would have figured it out by now, but it actually hurts us.
Can I just say, I think men are confused in a way too, because more recently, I think there's been a message for men of, hey, it's not okay to be a man, or there's something wrong with masculinity. And to me, that's a total misunderstanding of core strengths.
Yes.
And so men are struggling a little bit too with these concepts.
And it's not men. I think it starts as little boys.
Yes, mothers and sons,
Well, guess who raises little boys?
Right.
Mostly women. Even if you're working all the time and your children are spending most of their days in daycare, those are women. Most of us wouldn't even consider putting our child in daycare that was run all by men.
I think, we have a lot of really strong takeaways about change, and I hope everyone out there that is watching will pick up a copy of Dixie's book, Fascinating Womanhood for the Timeless Woman, now an international Amazon bestseller, and it's also available on audio, which is really
brand new. Yes.
I'll attach the link below, and thank you so much for Did you want to say something?
How do you say, is it Audible? Which one is it? Or is it on?
a lot of
It's on several. Okay, several.
Yes, several sites that you can purchase it on. And thank you so much. We're so excited to have had the male perspective. Bob, thank you so much for being here. Thanks, Dixie.
Yeah, talk to you soon.
And we'll see everyone next time. Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.